Hey,
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 how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? All
Good. What's going
right,
on?
so it is. I'm excited about this, moving it over here to this platform and checking it out and seeing what it's all about.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, I
Oh
was
my
listening
gosh.
to it on
Uh-huh.
a different type of show, like nothing to do with sports or Chiefs or anything. But I went
Uh-huh.
ahead and checked them out. I was like, wow, this platform is nice. It's a lot like the other one, but I kind of like the layout a little bit better.
This is so, you know what? I have been so accustomed for doing Zooms for so long that it's
Yeah.
kind of bizarre.
Oh really?
Right? Like I'm like, man, I don't have to worry about what I look like. I don't have to worry that I'm like
Oh
tired
yeah.
at the end of the day. Right?
That's the best part. We're
Well,
animated,
okay,
so
but hear me out on this one too. Like I feel as a female when I hop on all of these shows to go live on YouTube and these Zooms and everything else, I feel like as a female that I have to like up my game even more.
oh yeah.
So I appreciate this a little bit more. It reminds me of back in the day with my business when I started it over 8 years ago. Man, we used to conference call the heck out of everything. We would conference call trainings, we would conference call prospecting calls, and it
Mhm.
was just nice just to hop on and do a conference call. And then of course we moved to Zooms, and we're like, oh, we have to be on.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's mostly Zoom. I mean, we were still doing conference calls up and really until this pandemic. That's why then everybody had to jump on Zoom
Yeah,
to make
yeah, but
sure.
this is nice. I like this so far.
Oh yeah, but
Very
it's too
cool.
bad.
All right, so where are you recording from? Are you in your car? Where are you?
No, I'm in back in my room. Like I live with six people pretty much, so everyone's home right now. So I wasn't sure how noisy it was going to be. That's why I said I might have to record in my car. But yeah, we're
And
all
are
good.
y'all all thawed out from the Texas storms?
Yes, yes, we did lose power though.
Ooh, for
Yeah,
how long?
it was about 3 days.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it was crazy. Like obviously we're pretty fortunate. Some people got it a little bit worse. Like some like ours came
Mm.
on. They were doing the rolling. Do you know much about that? What was going on?
No, no. Other than I know that it was the ice, right, that cut out a lot of the power and the
Yeah,
severe
basically
cold.
our grid. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But I guess our grid basically failed, and half the state was dealing with these rolling blackouts, and so some people were without power for long periods of time. Because their situation, like the grid completely failed, and then the actual company was doing these rolling blackouts for everyone else. So where I live, they were supposed to turn on the power for about 45 minutes, turn it off for about 30 minutes at a time. Uh,
Ooh,
they turned it on for an hour, and then it was out for about 4 hours.
what?
So yeah, so it was getting real. We was out here. We had
Wow.
firewood going. I was sleeping in my snow boots and my coat. Yeah, it was wild.
Wow.
Felt like
That is crazy.
Liam Neeson in The Gray,
Oh my gosh.
just
Now
sitting
he
in
had a
my
big
house.
old, really.
Right?
Oh my gosh. I like that movie actually.
Oh
So,
yeah,
oh
anything
man.
Liam Neeson.
Well, I am glad things have been restored for you
Oh yeah,
and your roommates and for everyone down there. The
yes, yes.
grid going out, that is really crazy. It got so hot here during parts of this last summer that we experienced potential. They sent out warnings saying, "Hey, we might have to implement a rolling system if it gets too hot." So it makes
Oh
you
really?
question the management of utilities and power.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You know,
yeah. I don't
so
pretend to know a whole lot about that, but it is kind of like, guys, I feel like we could have kind of done this better, just a
right,
little bit.
right. So, happy Friday night, my friend. And I know that we have been talking about doing something together here for a while now, and I'm excited to talk with you a little bit about football. I feel
Oh
like
yeah,
we both have had a couple of weeks now to digest what was a really, really tough football game to stomach in
yeah.
that
I was
Super
gonna
Bowl
ask you,
game.
are you still? How's your Super Bowl
Ah,
hangover treating you?
it still seems surreal. I really honestly feel like that really happened, and that really that really took place, because part of me feels like, oh, I'm still waiting for my team to show up and play how I know that they're able to play. So that, I guess, that was the disappointing aspect of the build up to this run it back season that
Oh yeah,
we've been touting all season long, right? And we
oh
did. We
yeah,
ran it all the way back to the Super Bowl, but it just felt like we didn't show up for the Super Bowl. And officiating aside, we still did not play our best football game. So,
absolutely. Yeah, the fit shading. Everyone knows. Everyone saw it. Like my non-football friends saw what was going on. My friends who just watched the Super Bowl, right? That's the only game they watch,
mhm.
and they were texting me like, "Dude, what is going on with these referees?" I'm like, "If you're seeing that, then that means I am able to complain and like without people saying, "Oh, you're just blaming the refs." I'm like, "No, because
Yeah,
y'all see it too now."
exactly.
But
See,
yeah,
exactly.
but yeah, you're right. We didn't play well. It was like they always say about the Super Bowl hangover for teams. It was like usually that hits during the season. It was like for us, for some reason, it waited until the very last game to just hit us like a brick.
A
Um, and I'm
whole bag of
okay.
bricks, not just one brick.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I'm. It's not that we lost. I'd be okay with a loss, but it was just an embarrassment. It really was.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I do believe in this team. I know they're feeling it too, obviously more than the fans are. So, I do think we'll bounce back next season. I don't know if we'll get back to the Super Bowl, especially with a lot of these rumors going on in the league right now, and I'm sure we'll talk
Mhm.
about that too. But I do think we'll come back stronger than we did this previous season.
I like that. You're already looking towards the positives there. Okay, so for context purposes and everything else, tell everyone who you are and why you're a Chiefs fan, how long you've been a Chiefs fan.
My name is Ra. I've been a Chiefs fan all my life, pretty much since I've understood football. So I guess we could say about maybe like 12 or so. Originally from Kansas City, uh, moved out to Dallas, but my dad, who was diehard, would not allow us to be Cowboys fans. He made sure of that. Um, so yeah,
I love it.
so I was big, just the whole family. We go up to a game every year, decked out in all of our red and gold. My favorite player was growing up was Priest Holmes. I
Oh,
thought
yes.
he was a legend, and I found out recently that I know people in this area who know him personally, so maybe we could get him on the show one day.
That would be so fun. I That would be really, really fun. I love it.
Yeah.
I
How about
appreciate that your
yourself?
dad kept y'all straight and narrow, even moving to cowboy country.
Oh, he wouldn't allow it.
So
Yeah, he would have
I
disowned
know
us.
that's good. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, I'm not originally from Kansas City. You are originally from Kansas City, my friend, but I am actually born in LA, moved to Oakland, California, and then my family moved to the Midwest when I was in sixth grade. So I have been a Chiefs fan since sixth grade, but what's crazy is my family has loved football from day one. I grew up a big football fan, but I wasn't really affiliated with any team. My family members, I have family siblings who are Raiders fans, 49ers fans, and then myself and two of my three brothers are Chiefs fans, and we became Chiefs fans when we moved to the Midwest. Our affiliations with the 49ers and the Raiders were not as strong as two of our siblings. So we
Awesome.
became Chiefs fans upon moving to the Midwest, and that was back in sixth grade. And, I think you know this, but I had a unique
Mhm.
opportunity after college. I had a great passion for dance, performing, and I was not ready to let that dream go because I had found it not very long ago in my life, I felt like. I did not dance all my life. I actually had only started dancing as a junior in high school and beyond. And when I left college and graduated college, I was not ready to hang it up. I wanted to keep performing, and keep doing the thing that just made me so just excited about life and passionate about
Mhm.
life. And so one of my friends was like, "Hey, you should try out for Chiefs cheerleaders." And I thought he was completely joking. I didn't pay any attention, didn't take him seriously. And as part of me was like, "Well, let me look this up. Let me find out some more information. I mean, why not, right?" And so Long story short, I made the cutoff for audition at the very last audition workshop. I went and I tried out, and I apparently rocked it because I made it that year. I was one of the 36 who made it that year. I had already loved football. I had adopted Kansas City as my team, despite what some of my family members, the teams that they were cheering for, and it just further, like, just further emphasized my love for this team. So I've been a fan since the 6th grade. I'm not going to go back and tell y'all how long ago that was because then you'll figure out my actual age. So I love this team. I love sports, and I love just the being an athlete and chasing these big dreams. And I just love how that ties into different areas of your life if you will allow it to.
All
And
the
I
time.
love, yes, and I love that journey tied into my being a mom as well, and how now I'm seeing those lessons reflected in my children, my boys as well. So I know you know this because you are quite a disciplined athlete yourself. So I am
Try to
inspired
be.
by that, of course. So I know
Hmm.
you understand that part of being an athlete and being a champion and playing hard and putting it all out there.
Absolutely. And it's so impressive that you did that, starting in starting to dance in high school, because I actually know a few girls who tried out for that team. It is really hard to become an NFL cheerleader. So that's
It is.
no small accomplishment.
Well, and I always say that I'm grateful that I did it when I did it. And this is why I always like coach people and say, you've just got to go for it. You've got to go for it right now because you don't know how things are going to evolve and change. I look at the athleticism of the men and women who audition and who are currently on all of these 32 teams. And I think to myself, there is no way that I would be on one of those squads today because the talent and technique that they exhibit is way beyond anything that I believe that I could do because I'm not a technically trained dancer whatsoever. Like I was
I've seen your
grateful to be able to
TikToks. I
get
think you could do it.
okay. But you know what I mean? It's like I feel like that's why we have to take advantage of the opportunities that are right in
Absolutely.
front of us at any given time because you look at some of those the things that as they evolve and it's just absolutely incredible. So I'm grateful for the opportunity and yeah, I'm never switching teams or anything like that. I have friends who like move from various cities and they kind of adopt, the different teams and I'm like, I don't think that I could ever do that.
I've
So
I've thought about that too. It's funny. I've never left. I mean, I'm from Kansas City to Dallas. I really have been back and forth between the two. I've never really lived anywhere else, and I've always thought about that. Like, would I join another team? And I really just something about those Chiefs. It's something about the culture with the organization. You talk to some of these players who play for the organization, and they love it. Like they
yes.
former players. Like there's so many former players where the NFL it was just a job for them. And you talk to a lot of these former Chiefs players, and they just you can see the glow in their eyes when they start talking about it. Like they're on Instagram repping their T-shirts and their old jerseys and stuff whenever the game's on. Like it's a different culture.
That just makes me so warm and fuzzy inside. You have no idea. I mean, I'm sure you do a little bit here, but like that's I love hearing that stuff and I think that's the aspect that I wish that more fans of football would understand with Patrick Mahomes as our quarterback and he's locked in he's got this 10-year contract and the future is
Hmm.
really bright for Chiefs Kingdom and whatnot but I feel like
Hmm.
when you look at teams that have had dynasties like the Patriots, the Cowboys back in the day, when you look at some of these teams that have had what you would might consider a dynasty run, you think about like for me, I think about the fan bases sometimes, and it can turn me on or turn me off, right?
Hmm.
And with Chiefs Kingdom, though, what you just said with what the players say, like how it's not just a job, how it's like family, and how they show up and show up hard and put everything out there, and how they still talk about it with that gleam in their eyes. And you can tell that they were really
Absolutely.
passionate about their time there, and they still are. And it's a very positive experience that they went through. I love that. And I think that's something for the most part. Obviously, there's bad apples in the fan bases of any football program, but for the most part, I feel like our fans have that. that pride and that passion, that humility in them as well.
Hmm.
So it might not always be exhibited 100%, right? I mean, we get upset. We're humans after all. We have these emotions
Everyone,
that
yeah,
are tied to.
we all have our moments. We all have our moments.
Right. So, but I love hearing that. That's so, man, that just gave me like warm fuzzies all over.
Yeah, it's just something
So,
about. Yeah, go ahead.
no. You finish that thought.
Well, I was just going to say it's just something about the leadership, like how you were saying, sports
Mm,
is the things we learn in sports are things applicable to the rest of our lives. It's just something about the way that they exemplify leadership in that organization. Starts at the top, goes through the players, and goes through the fans, and it's just something amazing to see. Like you said, how our fan base acts in other areas. Uh, I like to think. I mean, I'm sure there's, like you said, bad apples, but I like to think most of the time I've gone to like an away game or something like that. Chiefs Kingdoms out there, we're showing respect. Anytime I've gone to a game, over at Cowboys Stadium over there, AT&T Stadium, we're offering fans barbecue. Like chatting it up, like it's never disrespectful.
right. Exactly. And I know we're getting away from chatting Super Bowl, but I just wanted to say this is there's
That's
a
fine. It's still
large,
painful.
right? We'll talk about the happy moments that are not as painful right now.
Hmm.
But there's a tailgating. I feel like tailgating is done like nowhere else at Arrowhead Stadium, right?
Oh no,
And
yeah,
they're so you could go through there, and obviously if you're a Chiefs fan, it's the best of the best. But even if you're the opposing team and you are there and you're experiencing and taking this all in for the very first time, the Chiefs Kingdom will take you in. Like even if you've got on the opposing team's colors, jerseys, whatever, hey, come join us. Come tailgate with
yeah,
us. We know you're part of that other team, but we don't care because it's still family. So
yeah. Have some of
that
his
is something
gates.
unique.
Shove some of
Yeah.
his Dr. Bryant's.
Yes, exactly. Got to have some of that. So, all right. So that being said, man, I just love that about our organization, and I'm glad that I didn't say that. I feel like I got to live that experience. I was fortunate enough to have met Lamar Hunt in my years,
Oh, that's
my
awesome.
seasons there at the stadium and at Arrowhead. And so I understand like the humble servant leader that he was and what he instilled throughout the organization. So for that to like go through and filter as far as fans, as us understanding that as fans, I think it's just absolutely amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
You nailed
All
it right
right.
on the head.
So
Humble
my
servant.
friend, see, exactly. And it's so important in all areas. And I think that's part of why he was such a visionary in not just for the AFL, but just for all of football. Um, but yeah, great man, great family. And I'm glad that we have their leadership. So, okay, my friend, taking it back to where it hurts a little bit more.
Let's do it. Rip the band-aid
Talk
off.
to me about this. We've had a couple weeks here. Super Bowl was not quite what we thought it was. What did you think going into the game itself? How did you feel going into this, coming off of a season where we didn't really stomp any of our opponents, where we didn't win in big fashions, as people were saying right and left? Like, man, we didn't win very big. We won by a possession, a score. How did you feel going into this game?
Honestly, I felt pretty confident. Not like you said. Yeah, we did not really have the most beautiful wins this year, but we came out with a 14-2 record, and we had beaten that team earlier this year. Um, and it's not always going to be Patrick Mahomes throwing 50 touchdowns in a season. Like we got that beautiful. I mean, it was a painful maybe ending to that season too, but his first starting season, we're probably never really going to get that type of offensive firepower like that anymore. Because now the league has seen him play, so I knew it wasn't always going to be the flashy play that we've had before, but that's where the leadership starts taking over. That's where you start using more strategy to get wins, and they're not always going to be pretty, but a win is still going to be a win. And I really did, just watching the season, uh, even though they weren't the prettiest wins, I really felt like because we were still able to get those, through any means necessary. I thought we were going to come in and, I thought it was going to look a lot different than it did. I didn't necessarily think we were like guaranteed a win, but I did think it was going to be a little bit more competitive than it ultimately ended up being.
I am with you there. I had an eerie, confident feeling going into this, and
Mm-hmm.
I should have known better. I feel like anytime I feel that way, it just kind of doesn't bode well. So I also felt the same. And surprisingly, I kind of feel like the vibe from our players as the TV crews, pan to them coming out of the tunnel and whatnot, that vibe wasn't there. That vibe of we are
Yeah,
the defending Super Bowl champs, that was missing. I felt
yeah.
like it was missing. And I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure if it was, you have up days, you have down days and whatnot. And it's just one of those moments where that energy was definitely missing from our team because they did
But
not, and you
even
could tell. Mhm.
I would say even so, I thought the defense for the first couple of possessions played very well.
They sure did. And thank God that
Yeah,
they did because I think it would have been a lot um, uglier if they had not played as well as they did because they were holding. I really thought that the Bucks would score a little bit sooner, but for us to hold on those defensive series, I think it was like three defensive series. They had to punt three and out
yeah.
three times as we opened up the game. So I thought that they did a fantastic job. It was just weaknesses on I don't want to say weaknesses, I don't know if that's the correct word here, but just our offensive line, we kind of piecemealed and put it together all season long. So I had that false confidence that we'd be okay because we'd been playing with a piecemealed offensive line all season long. So I didn't think that would be
And
a
a lot of
problem,
those
but
guys were, yeah, a lot of those guys were serviceable during the year too. So
right,
even though you're right, they were piecemeal. That's the perfect way to put it. That's something we've been playing with the whole time, and
right,
I personally feel like I mean, obviously, maybe I wasn't looking at the Bucks too hard, but I thought the Bills were a little bit of a more dangerous team, and we took care of business with them. And I was like, okay, we took care of them. I thought that was the best team we were going to face during our
right,
playoff run.
right. Well, and we'd seen the Bucks before, right? We saw them
Yeah,
also
we saw them
before, so
beat them.
it was. I did not think that this would happen. We'd seen them before. I felt like we'd prepared for them. I felt like we could play with our offensive line pieces as it was,
Mm-hmm.
and things just did not flow right. And we were off. It seemed like we were off from the very beginning. And other than defense played strong from the start there. They did what they did. They did what they had to do, and we just couldn't pull it together on offense. I mean, like you said a little bit ago, we can't expect Patrick Mahomes to have 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards every single season. That would be a dream, my goodness. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. So it just, what are some things, officiating aside, we've already talked about officiating, and we know that it was not the way that we wanted it to go. And I do not like complaining about officiating. I really do not. But it was just one of those games where there were so many penalties, and so much so that it just really, really stood out. And aside from that, though, where do you think that had we had done a little bit better, which area where would we have performed a little bit better had we just done a little bit better in that area?
Well, there's the two biggest ones. I would say with the officiating, yes, I don't like to complain about officiating either. I try not to be that guy, but when it becomes to the point where the casual viewer who does not watch football all season can notice it, then I do think it's a problem. But that being aside, definitely the piecemeal offensive line that definitely did hurt us when they said Mahomes had like what 400 plus yards behind the line of
Yeah,
scrimmage. Like
yeah,
he was doing marathons back there, And then the other thing is I don't think that we have a currently on the roster, and they've done their parts through the last couple of years, but I would like to see maybe an upgrade at the receiver position to at the wide receiver two position to kind of help Tyreek and to help Travis Kelsey.
I'm with you there. I'm absolutely with you there. I do believe The wide receiver 2 spot is something that we need to find a strong backup because it makes a big difference. We rely a lot on Tyreek, but we know that he gets double covered, right? And we rely so much on Travis Kelce, and he is so clutch, but he can't do it all. He
Right.
cannot do it all.
We just need that other guy.
The
Like,
reason why the
Oh,
Chiefs lost the Super Bowl is because Patrick Mahomes had a broken ankle or half broken ankle, twisted ankle, but he wasn't 100%. He was 60%. That's why.
that's another
ah,
factor. He had turf toe, so yeah, that was another factor in the game. So he was hobbled. So it's just kind of a combination of all those things, though. Like, that's not the sole reason. Just like that is part of the reason, obviously. But he's been injured before. He's played through injuries before. It's just a kind of combination of that, along with the offensive line, along with the receivers not being able to hang on to the passes. Because, man, one of my, I mean, if there's one highlight of that game, that was the greatest incomplete pass I've ever seen in my life, where he did that
yes.
sideways dive.
Oh my, where he was parallel to the ground. That one.
Yes. Oh my
Oh
God. I have
my
that as my
goodness.
Facebook wallpaper right now.
I love it. You are right though. And I almost forgot about that for a moment because I had just deleted this game off of my DVR. Generally, I go back and rewatch these games and relive them, but this was one I was like, I don't think I can rewatch this. But you are absolutely correct. In this game, Patrick Mahomes did some of the most athletic throws that I've ever seen. That anybody would just look at this and go, how did you not make that catch happen after he made the pass happen when he should not have? Physics defies it. Everything defies it in that position to be able to make that throw. How? And I think two of those passes, they hit the receivers. He hit the targets right in their helmet. And I know it was their
Right in
helmet.
the
It
helmet.
wasn't their numbers, but it was still their helmets. And it was
They were
one of
catchable
those,
balls.
they were catchable. That was exactly it. They were catchable. And if your quarterback is going to make some magic like that happen, you got to find a way to hang on to the ball, I feel like. And
With turf toe.
yes, with turf toe. And he had surgery on it, a couple days after the Super Bowl ended. So, yep, you had to remind me of some of those. Those were some incredible throws that he made there. And unfortunately, they were not caught. And you go back and you think about it. The points left on the field between those throws that were not caught because they were in the end zone, right? Red zone, end zone right there. And
Mm-hmm.
between the penalties, the number of yards, what would you have? 11 penalties in the first half. But yeah, you think about that, and it could have made a difference in that outcome in the score of the game. I mean, could we have still won? I don't know, but it would have made a difference in that final score of the game for sure.
I mean, I got to give props to Tom Brady, man. As much as I always want to go against him, that offense did play a hell of a game. So would we have won? I don't really know. But I do think it would have looked a lot closer than it did.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And yeah, I'm with you. You got to give props. And I always say this, I'm not a huge, I like Tom Brady, right? It's not that I'm not a huge Tom Brady fan. It's just that I am so ready. He's been playing football, since the year that I graduated high school. And so that's all I've seen. And I'm just ready for the next regime. But so big props to Tom Brady, what he's able to do. 43 years old doing what he does. Yeah, big props to him.
Yeah. No, I'll be
But
the first to tell you I don't like Tom Brady, but I mean, you got to respect the guy. You got to
yes,
respect him.
you are absolutely correct, right? When somebody plays at that level, there has to be a level of respect for somebody doing what they're doing in the game. So big props to him. And you know what? And I always tell people, I hope that one day that Patrick Mahomes, that people dislike him just because he's so darn
Right.
good, right? I hope that. So, yeah. So props to him, respect to him to be able to come out of the Patriots, all the seasons that he spent there in his career to go to a different division, going from the AFC to the NFC and taking it all the way to the Super Bowl. I mean,
It
that's
was
pretty
like
incredible.
it was like Jordan going to the Wizards and winning the championship in the first year.
Yes, it's
Like, you
exactly
did
it.
not think that was going to happen. It's like, and
Oh,
it did.
oh
That's why
my
the
goodness.
surreal feeling you were talking about, that's where that
Yeah.
comes from. Like, this man is 43. How?
Yeah. Yeah. And I I slowly jog my miles every morning. I'm like, I can do this. Right? I'm like lifting my weights and I'm like, I can do this.
Right.
All right, Raw, hang on real quick. I had hit that
Got,
button almost by
mm-hmm.
curiosity last time, but we've got another comment here. So
My favorite thing about Tyreek Hill and the guys from the Buccaneers is that when the one time when it was an incomplete, one of the guys just put the number 2 in his hands.
I think he's talking about the peace sign.
yeah, I think so
He did the
too.
peace sign.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was at the, I did not like that. Is
No,
that the
I,
one we're talking about where the Bucks, I forget his name right now, it escapes me, but where the Bucks player taunted Tyreek?
yes. I
Okay.
forget how his name's escaping me too. But I've seen the photo in several places.
Uh-huh.
He actually received a fine for it
He
recently, and so
did.
what he did to he matched that fine with a donation to a charity. I'm like, man, this boy is just living that moment up right now. I mean, I like props to him for obviously donating. That's awesome, but man, I can't wait to put some peace signs in his face in the next couple of years.
Oh my gosh, I know. So, oh man, that part I did not like because, as a Chiefs fan, you're already down and out on your luck, and then that's like throwing
Oh
salt
yeah,
on the wound.
it's salt in the wound,
Sure.
and Tyreek did it to him earlier that year, so I guess that
Hmm.
man he held on to that
Well,
and he
okay,
gave it back to him.
taunting, right? And going
But
back to
yeah,
that
it was the
game.
way. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
definitely it's a different manner of doing it. That's like okay, there's still a level of sportsmanship between how you can have a little fun, but there is still a level of sportsmanship you should adhere to when you're out there.
Absolutely. And speaking of sportsmanship and level of that, uh, let's talk about Tom Brady and Tyrann Mathieu getting each other's faces. But we didn't see Tom Brady dishing it to Tyrann Mathieu. The cameras panned away, and we didn't get word of that until later. All we saw
Right.
was Tyrann got the penalty for getting in Tom Brady's face.
Yes.
So how did you feel about that?
I think that's another one of those things where we know he's going to get the favorable calls. So we knew that going in. It's never as long as he's playing, it's never not going to be that. He's gotten to that point. Like you said, where you want Patrick to be hated one day, I want Patrick to get to that point where he's getting those calls. Like, and I know it won't always be the case, but yeah. What I heard, I don't know how factual this is, was Tom Brady saying that he's going to throw it right to him, and then I believe he did that next series or like something like that. He said he's throwing in his direction or something like that.
That sounds like a much cleaner thing than what I heard, but
Oh, well, I would love that's probably the cleaned up version. I'm sure there's more
I
to
was super cleaned up.
it.
Whatever it was, apparently Tom Brady texted Tyrann Mathieu and apologized for whatever the words were that came out of his mouth.
Right.
So, yeah, for that for Tyrann to receive a text with an apology from Tom Brady, I will say that it must have been something not very clean.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
All right,
What I said is not
so
really text
moving
worthy.
into that aside, I'm glad we had a chance to talk about that. I had kind of wiped out some of that stuff from my memory. It was my brain's protecting me from that pain. But
Understandable.
the second half, opening the second half and going in the second half, usually our team is really good about making the necessary adjustments and doing what we
Yes.
need to do. And I was really banking on this. I was like, we got this, And as a Chiefs fan, we know not to worry too early on. We know that
Yeah.
sometimes our team needs to make the adjustments. Our team needs to, calm down or just it's a little bit more time for the cohesiveness to get whatever it is. Our team needs a little bit of that time, and so they go in, they make the adjustments, and they come out and they perform.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. That did not
No.
happen, and I was quite surprised. I was extremely surprised that we didn't make the adjustments necessary offensively, defensively. We just didn't make those adjustments.
No.
What do you think?
I believe like one thing, yeah, you're right. We didn't make the adjustments because it felt like we kept going for kind of the long play instead of
Mm-hmm.
maybe trying some of the little shorter play passes. But that's also, I think, in part the reason, like we've been saying all along, like the offensive line really couldn't give him any protection, so it was hard to really make any plays. It was hard to get the running backs going at that point because there was just no coverage. Those guys were, you got the full force of Ndamukong Suh and all those boys coming at you. And
That'd
they
be a scary
just
bunch.
didn't have, yeah, oh yeah. And yeah, they just didn't have an answer for it. I don't know how much of an adjustment we could have made with the whole offensive line situation. Maybe there was something, but I know that affected our gameplay, our game plan. We couldn't run the ball. We couldn't do any of the other play calls that maybe we could have done with a little bit better protection back there.
All right, so you mentioned running the ball and not being able to run the ball. This was something that I
Mm-hmm.
found very interesting in that we hardly ran the ball what at
Yeah,
all, period. And I
right.
know that, stats say it, the numbers out there say it, where if you don't run the ball at least, 22 times in a game, then it can really, really affect the outcome of the game. And we
Yeah,
definitely underutilized that part of our game, our game plan. And do you think even with that offensive line that there could have been a way for Clyde to run, find a hole, find a lane and run and get us and chip away at the yardage?
that's actually a really good point because yeah, I'm saying because that line, I don't think it was a possibility. But you're right, we really didn't even attempt it. So there's really not a way to know, and especially at that point of the game where nothing else was
Mm-hmm.
working, it would have been something to try. Yeah, I mean, I think Clyde could have made some headway. Who knows how much, but he's an elusive dude. He could have maybe made some moves.
I agree. And you know what? It's one of those things where it's like a few yards at a time. I mean, we get four downs to get 10 yards, right? That's how this game is set up. And I
Yeah,
felt like he could have chipped away at that and gave us that opportunity to at least drive the ball and make this happen. We put ourselves in such a bad position though, where we were down so much that
you had to
we
start going with
needed,
the air.
yes,
Hmm.
exactly, we had to go through the air. We couldn't do anything else. But even then there were times it's like, okay, maybe we should have just utilized the run game. We should have just done that, and unfortunately we didn't get to. And had we, seen more of that, I think that it really could have given us the opportunity for a little bit more control of the game clock and whatnot, but we did not. And all of these are, wishes and hindsight's 2020, or I mean hindsight's oh gosh, now I can't even think. But yeah, so I just, these things that I wish we would have implemented and utilized a little bit more, because we didn't draft a running back in the first round for nothing. So
Yeah,
why not utilize him? So I was extremely disappointed that we didn't run the ball more and that we had to rely on those going through the air. And I know, Patrick can make that happen, of course, but the coverage that they had on Tyreek and Travis, and then just the O line breaking down, we didn't really have that opportunity to do anything on either side of the ball. So
and then just the drop. I really do believe the drop passes too, because even with all of that working against us,
mm,
he put that ball in some guy's hands and it came right out. And I'm like, man,
mm-hmm.
that's a 14-point swing right there.
Oh,
That was a momentum building play, and I think some of those plays that got missed were also important in kind of getting the morale going, getting the guys back to get focused. I mean, you're right. Like he
mm-hmm.
should have like the game plan should have changed a little bit at some point, but it did seem like some of that stuff that they were trying was supposed to work, and sometimes you just get that bad sports luck and it just does not.
Did you feel as if this was kind of like the olden day Andy Reid watching this game and looking at some of the plays that were given? These were not like the exciting plays that Chiefs Kingdom had become accustomed to, especially in the playoff and Super Bowl run. I felt like the plays were quite conservative.
Yeah, a little bit, and yeah, a lot of people have been saying that. Like you, I have not gone back and watched the game just yet. I probably will do that at some point, but yeah, it did feel at some point we're like we were saying earlier, like we weren't doing the flashy plays, but we also weren't really attempting them either. So yeah, it did kind of feel like that Eagles Andy Reid team from the Super Bowl years back. It felt like the thing that all has always haunted Andy Reid. When it comes to like some critical game moments, he just makes
Right.
these weird like he doesn't risk it, Like
Yeah, some of
he
those.
doesn't go for the jug. I don't know how to describe it. He just doesn't really uh
Yeah.
make the bold move
Right.
there.
Right.
He
Yeah.
plays it
That. Yeah.
safe.
Exactly. Plays it safe instead of taking the risk. And sometimes it's like you got to go for it or you're going to go home.
Yeah,
And that's what it
that
kind
was
of
a
came down to.
moment to go for it. When you, especially
Absolutely.
against 12, you got to go for it against 12.
Oh, 12, 12.
Yeah, you got to go for
Oh,
it.
exactly. So, um, ending wrap up thoughts about that Super Bowl game. Definitely did not go the way we wanted. Definitely one of those moments where going into the game with the kind of confidence that sounded like both of us had, it was a huge letdown.
Yeah,
And it
I
was,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, it was painful in a way to watch them take the field, the confetti pop in their colors, the
Hmm.
trophy being handed to them. That was painful because I remember just the year before having such joy and excitement and pride in my heart
It
for
makes you
that
appreciate that one a
moment.
lot more.
Yes, absolutely yes. And
In fact,
so, yeah,
I
it
ended
was
up buying some
painful.
more. Yeah, I ended up buying some more Super Bowl 54 swag stuff after that game, after 55.
I'm glad to hear that. There you go.
I was
Right?
like, that's
Makes
probably
and
going to
you're
get
right.
sold out soon. Hmm.
It does make you appreciate that one even more. And I'm appreciative because how long has it been? You and I, we are, I'm call us young because we are. I think you are younger than I am even. But there are fans who have been fans for a long time, longer than we've been alive. And that these last 3 seasons have been really, really special. And so that's the perspective and the appreciation that I think that we need to remind ourselves of and keep in mind, because going into this is the phase of the football season that I do not love because this is where I call it my family's being torn apart.
Hmm.
So, because like you said, you alluded to this already earlier, but we're not going to get to keep all of these guys. We have to cut right off the top. We have to cut $30 million somewhere. So,
Yeah,
um, so it's going to look different, and it would have been so special to have run it back and done it back to back this last season here, because most of the guys, except for our running back, our star running back from the game last season, everybody else was back.
yeah,
So it would have been
yep.
so special to do it. But moving forward into this current new season, it is going to look a lot different because we've got um, free agents and we've got the salary cap and we've got other things going into it. So, who do you think is going? Who do you think might get to stay? And we don't have to go into numbers and stuff because that's the part where I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm not paid to do this.
Yeah, I'm not too. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll just say I think who's going. I do think Sammy Watkins. I think this might be his last year in Kansas City. Um, I just think for the amount he's been paid, it's just not really. It really hasn't been the production they were hoping for,
Mhm.
and it'd be really interesting if he ends up because he's not available. Like you've got to be on the field.
Right.
So it would be really interesting if they somehow keep. I like Sammy.
Me too.
If they end up keeping him somehow and he comes out because when he balls out, he balls out. Like I'm a fantasy football guy, and man, that man got me like. There's a few games that man won me. He helped me win my league last year, along with I had Lamar Jackson. That was his whole MVP year. But that's what I'm saying. When Sammy's on, he's on.
Yes.
But when he's off, it's like, where is he? And for the amount that the Chiefs have invested into him, I don't think it's really has panned out the way they wanted. So I do think he's gone. I think they'll look for a different direction for the number 2 receiver. I've been seeing stuff about Deshaun Jackson and stuff like that. I don't think that's happening. At least I hope not. Like I see some of these blogs and there's like, that's a name here. How about him being a Chief? I'm like, no, like, stop this.
I think that they do anything to pull out anything to talk about during this time of year because
you have
there
to.
isn't
I know.
very
I
much
understand
news,
it's part of the
right?
job. Yeah, it's got to be
exactly.
Keep the clicks.
Exactly. I was gonna say I love Sammy Watkins. I love him. I think that he is one of those individuals that um, he's just a really good heart. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
you
yeah,
can tell that that person is a great human being. And this is the hard part that's hard for me because I know it's a football team and it's a fandom, but also for me, like it does feel like family, as it does for a lot of people, of course. And you get to know like the stories behind the players and who they are, where
absolutely.
they came from. And that part is what I love about journeys and going through struggles and coming up through struggles to win in small ways and in big ways, hopefully. But for him, he loves this team and this city so
Absolutely.
much that last year, he took
He took
last
a cut.
minute, yes,
Mm-hmm.
to stay in Kansas City because he just loved the way the players would come together, like not physically speaking, like in the locker room, but like that the way that the players are like a family and the way they treat
Mm-hmm.
each other, just like we talked about earlier in this conversation. So I love him, but you're absolutely right. The guys need to be available. They have to be available. They have to be able to be healthy enough to play and whatnot. And it's just one of those situations where he is at a point where his body is not allowing him to be as available as we'd like for him to be. So that
Yeah.
one's going to hurt, but it's one of those necessary business moves, and this is why this is not my favorite part of the season.
Like you said, you hit the nail on the head. If I was on the team, whatever last year Super Bowl 54, if I could just sign a 1-day contract for Eric Berry, Jamal Charles,
Oh,
Derek Johnson, and stuff, just to get Alex
oh,
Smith. I love Alex Smith.
yes,
Like get them all on the team just for that moment. I would have, but yeah, it's like you said,
right?
it's a business. Like you can't have all your favorites on there.
Oh, see, this is why I'm not in those positions to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, okay, you get one too. Oh, so
Right.
any other names that you think that we might have to part ways with?
I've been seeing things about who else is a free agent right now?
Man, we got a lot of them, I feel like.
Is DeMarcus Robinson a free agent?
Yes, and I think he might be gone.
Yeah, I think he might be gone too.
Yes. Yeah, I hate to say that, but I think that he might be gone as well. How do you feel? He's obviously, this is not a free agent, but we're talking about Georgia boy here. We're talking about his ability to run routes, his ability to develop a little bit more. But what do you
Mm-hmm.
think about the Jet? I mean, is he developing enough for us to continue to put our faith in him that he will continue to develop?
I think to be the number 2 or the next guy up, not
Mm-hmm.
right now, but I do think he's still young enough and he's got like the speed and just kind of that talent where
Right.
I'd be willing to, hang on to him for a little bit longer, just at least one more season to see how he develops this next year. Like some guys don't get it right away, but this is only his second year in the league.
Right.
And we've held on to guys longer for less production. He's had moments, like he's had flashes of
Oh yeah.
his potential. And I think just
Oh
with a
yeah.
little bit more development, like we might see the Jet looking a lot different. I had a nickname for him. It was a little mean. I probably shouldn't say it, but we I just will say that same draft we had DK Metcalf ahead of him. Like,
Oh
and
yes.
man, I want him to not have buyer's remorse. I want to not wish we had DK Metcalf. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Could you imagine
Like,
DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill?
they would be unstoppable. It would be,
Oh my gosh.
that
Yeah,
man,
here we are.
the best play, one of the best, my favorite non-Chiefs play from last year is where he ran down what is Buda Baker.
Yes.
Like that was the
Oh,
craziest thing I've ever seen.
yes, that was an incredible play. Buda Baker looked behind him and was like, "What?"
Yeah, he even joked about it on Twitter. Buda Baker, he's like, man, he caught me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, that's quite the player there.
Yeah,
So not free agency wise, but the injuries that we have. Mitchell Schwartz just had his back surgery. He's out of back
yes.
surgery. He said that he doesn't anticipate the recovery period to be very long, which is why he waited till now. I'm not sure if that, how much truth is behind that, because they don't talk about injuries very often, the extent of the injuries very often, or they're not allowed to, or whatever that is. But we've got him. Eric Fisher is like an Achilles. I mean, I, knock on
Hmm.
wood, have never broken, torn anything, and so, but an Achilles injury
Oh,
is one of
we're very
those that,
opposite there.
ooh, ooh, yeah, so who knows how long he'll be out for? Obviously everyone's going to be trying to be as optimistic as they possibly can be, but the reality is it's still an Achilles injury, and he is a big man, and you do not want to push him before he's fully ready to be back out there
Hmm.
on that ankle. So looking at him, contract and money wise, that Mitchell Schwartz, there are some of these positions where they could trim some fat off, and obviously they're not free agents, but yeah, there's some areas where people are talking. Do you cut them, or do you try to renegotiate their contract? So I think that we'll see them back, but
I
I
think
don't
they'll
know
come
in
back.
what
Yeah,
capacity.
yeah. Like you
Mhm.
said, they're not going to rush them back, but I do think Eric Fisher's staying. Um, I believe Mitchell Schwartz. I know Mitchell Schwartz wants to stay for sure.
Oh yeah.
Um,
They're building their dream home in Kansas City right now. So
yeah,
yeah, so you
I'd like to see
definitely,
him
I
both
mean,
back.
yeah, yeah, I would like to too, because they're difference makers, protecting the right and left. I mean, that is huge, so
Hmm.
huge. Well, my friend, any other thoughts that you have on the Super Bowl rewind, and as we are into this free agency period?
Um, yeah, I would just say like, yeah, it was a bad. It didn't go how we wanted it to go. But like I said, diehard fan. I follow these guys, like see what they're talking about. I think that this was maybe just a little. It would, man, it would have been amazing to wear that back-to-back T-shirt, like it really would have. But at the same time, I think as a fan base, as players and everything, there is that aura, there is that sense that maybe we were a little bit overconfident. I think this is going to humble us a little bit. I think it's going to make us want to come back, uh, you know, bigger, faster, stronger, and just take down the league. When everybody's telling you you're the best, like I don't know. And I'm not saying that this was happening, but it just felt like there was this little bit of an aura that it just we didn't have that fire that we had the previous season, like you said. Um, and these guys like I have to bring up one more time, like Brady and all that stuff, like Jordan, guys like that. Like Brady posted a little video of like all the trash talk that he was getting all year long. Like he thrives off of that, and I feel like
He
Mahomes is one of those guys
does.
too. I,
Yes,
I feel like
you
I feel
know
like
that
he's one of
he
those
is.
guys too. Yeah, so I think he's gonna take this, and I think he's gonna use it. Like use to come back like
Ooh,
crazier.
that's
Like,
exciting. That like just gave me goosebumps, because
hmm,
he takes note. He like flips open his notebook and is like, mark this down on
uh,
February 7th. Yeah.
he just like what last week talking about day one. I'm like, yes, let's go. Like,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to hit the gym right after seeing that.
Right? He like has
Like, I'm not
toe
even on
foot
the team. I'm like, let me,
surgery. Right? His baby
right,
about due, but he's all day one. Boom, 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 boom.
right.
I love it. I love it. But you are absolutely right. I think that there's nothing wrong with humble pie. Do I wish that we could wear those t-shirts that say back to back Super Bowl
Oh yeah,
champs? Heck yes, I do. Absolutely,
I
I
got that
do.
Frank Clark, like he's talking about when they asked him what happens if you win two. It's like, what are you gonna say when they win two? Like, we got to win three. I was loving it, like, you know what I'm saying. But like sometimes sometimes you gotta eat it, and like it's just how
Mm-hmm.
you respond to it. It's gonna shape who you are,
That's
as a
right.
team.
That's right. Oh man. Oh man. Now it just makes me jacked for what's to come because Patrick Mahomes, Chippy, taking his notes down. I love to see it. So I love to see it. All right, my
Absolutely.
friend. This has been a really fun conversation, and I'm really glad that we did it here on this platform as well. So this has been a whole lot of fun. Thank you to our little friend who came in and said hello and dropped a couple of comments here for us, a little audio comments.
Absolutely.
That was a lot of
Thank
fun.
you, man. Thank you.
Last words for our listeners and those who will be listening to this after the fact. Where can they find you, my friend, to follow you um, for fun and for life inspiration, workout inspiration? Where can they find you?
If you're interested in following me, you can check me out on Instagram, The Almighty Ra. Yeah, my name is Ra. My main handle is The Almighty Ra. I also do another show. We've taken a little bit of a break, but me and my friend Jay, we do a show called Listen Up, Bro. So we do that one on Twitch. So follow us on Twitch there, a Listen Up, Bro podcast. And yeah, come check us out. Come follow us again. Where can they find you?
Love it. I am a social media junkie. Y'all can find me on any platform, just about, with my first and last name, Hong Forrest. And come for the inspiration, but stay for the passion, the mom life, the business, the football, the coffee is what I like to say. So, this has been a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing this again.
You make that coffee look good. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you. Thank
That's something to
you.
be like energized. Like I'm like, oh man, hey, give me a cup.
I appreciate that, my friend. Well, thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate your energy and having you on in this conversation, and I will be chatting with you soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right. Good night.
Right.